G'day folks. So I got a question come in about moving the person's balance after you've done vital breathing, so building the ball between the space between your hands. So once you've done that and you're able to feel the energy in the space between your hands, then we just want to transmit that feeling to a partner, and we want to treat this as an experiment, right? There's nothing competitive going on. It's like, okay, let's see what happens when I breathe the same quality into the person, into our partner. So what will happen is energy conducts through the fascia. So when you start breathing this energy into your partner, the energy will start permeating through their fascia and it will start to link their body up, right? And you need to occupy enough space so it gets their whole structure. So it's not going to be the same as this, but we want to put the same feeling into their entire structure. So the first thing that we want to do is, after I've felt the energy, I want to touch my partner and I want to feel the structure, right? I want to feel all the tension line going all the way down to the base. So whatever I feel in her, I want to start breathing that energy in. So, and as soon as I do that, it starts to create a link. The whole body starts to link up as one, right? And we get it to a point where there's a little bit of a float, right? But if I maintain my mental space just in a structure, it's going to just create that linking feeling. But she's not really moving anywhere. She's just hovering in that one spot. So now what we need to do is we need to occupy a larger space. So I breathe energy into her whole structure. And then I start expanding my mental space around her. And then she starts floating away. So what's happening here is, this is one of the methods on how you can open your partner's mental space. Because we're breathing life force into a structure and then we're expanding space, it starts to, her mind starts to occupy the space in where you're energizing, hence you get the balance, right? So that's a key distinct point. There's many ways to get the balance, but this is the first method you do to get the balance, where it's an experimentation, like what happens if I put this feeling into my partner, right? And you notice the changes. And your partner is basically, they're just giving you a slight structure and observing. They're also finding out, like, what happens if this energy comes into my body, or what happens to my structure. They're not fighting it, they're not going along with it, they're just observing, purely observing. So once we got to that stage, then we start to separate the different aspects. So we've got the electromagnetic energy. So when I breathe life force in, it's both electric and magnetic, right? But if I want to separate the electric energy, I want to find a base again, breathe the energy in. Now I gently open my joints, push my joints open, and switch more into the electric state. And it starts to create more of a repelling quality. And then I do the same thing. Now I'll pull my joints open and switch into the magnetic state. And now that starts to absorb and it starts to pull her this way, depending on where you put the magnetism. So now you're going to the next phase where you're separating or you're isolating the different aspects of electromagnetism. You can't separate it completely, but you can switch it more to the electric phase and more to the magnetic phase. They're not separated until you get to Akasha and light. But that's basically the fundamental on the first exercise that you do after you've done building the ball, right? You've been building the ball and you've done the pore breathing, where you notice the changes in yourself. What happens if I put this energy in my whole body, right? You'll start to notice, like, everything starts to link up, and as it's linking up, you start to become lighter, right? And then you want to keep expanding your mind outward, and you want to start feeling the energy in your whole sphere. So we have the torus field, where we occupy the electromagnetic sphere that goes into the ground and comes up, and it's reticulating like this. So what we want to do is we want to keep refining our mind into the feeling of life force, and that reticulation gets cleaner and cleaner until your body becomes empty, because your consciousness is merged with the life force field around you, and your body feels like, oh, I've got power, but I don't have tension, right? And there's a lot of different things you can do for that, but that's the base foundation. Once you've got to that level, now you've entered the door, right? And then your intuition will guide you on how you can figure out the rest of the puzzle. But that's the first aspect. You feel the energy, you're in, right? Once you're in, then you start to experiment with the various different things. And where we want to get to with all of this stuff is, Can the mind influence energy? And that's what we're experimenting here. And it obviously can. So you try with one person, it's like, that worked. You try with another person, that didn't work so well. This is where everyone's slightly different. And the relationship between their mind and their body, it's different for everyone, right? Some people are very open, so they react straight away. So she's very sensitive, so she reacts straight away. Some people are more like earth. They're very in their body, and their balance is the magnetism between the mind and body is quite tight. So it's going to take you a bit longer to float them. But if you persist and keep breathing life force into them, eventually you get them. Sometimes it may take a minute or so, but just keep persisting and keep your mind into the feeling of their tension line and breathing that energy in until you get that float, right? And again, at this stage, your partner is not competing or fighting it. They're just observing, right? If you have a competitive mind at the beginning, it'll be very difficult to figure this out. At the beginning, you need a lot of cooperation. Cooperation is not the same as being delusional about it, right? We have to have a scientist approach on all of this stuff. And what happens if I do this? That's all. We're experimenting. And if you have that psychology throughout your whole practice, you'll get success a lot faster. If you add any sort of egoic attachment to success, it'll slow you down, and it will prevent you from pushing boundaries, because your ego wants to win. There may be failure rates, but everything's a piece of puzzle, right? And you want to figure out, what can I do to fix this puzzle, right? You just have to have a scientist approach to this. Remove any ego or attachment on your success and stuff, then you'll get there much faster. Yeah, so that's the first method. Breathe the vital energy into the person, expand the space, expand the volume of energy around them, and their mind will start occupying that space, and their balance is affected, right? I hope that answers your question. If you have any other questions, please ask. Thank you. See you next video.